Luis Suarez kicks up yet another biting storm, now faces the prospect of being kicked out of the World Cup by FIFA. Good morning and welcome to the beautiful game here on CNN IB. And what a travesty, if we should have to call it the beautiful game at this point of time, after what we witnessed from Luis Suarez late last night. And joining me as always, Novi Kapadia, Karim Ben Sharifa, smiles back on their faces, but little taken aback, little shocked at Suarez's behavior. Yes, that will be our top story on this show. But before that, let's take you through the other headlines also on the show. A wrestling game, cards flying around, and even an old-fashioned bite from the Suarez table. Well, it was a game that saw it all, but in the end, Captain Diego Gordon's header takes Uruguay to the second round, knocking out the four-time champions, Italy. England fly out back home with at least a point on board after a completely changed lineup, managed to hold group toppers Costa Rica. Yes, the story of the tournament, Colombia putting another stunning performance to top Group C with a 4-1 annihilation of a lackluster Japan. And guess what? A Greek tragedy meets, or rather results in the end of Ivory Coast's dream campaign in the World Cup. It's the end of Didier Drogba's generation, at least on the world stage, as the Greeks are through with a 2-1 win from behind. But first up, Luis Suarez faces the prospect of being thrown out of the World Cup after he appeared to bite Italian defender Giorgio Chiellini during the closing stages of a dramatic victory for Uruguay. Now, the incident occurred in the 79th minute as Suarez and Chiellini fought for the ball inside the Italian box. Suarez lunged at Chiellini in what seemed to be like a headbutt initially, before TV replays showed him to be biting down on Chiellini's shoulder. And strangely, Suarez flings himself on the ground right after that, holding his teeth, as Chiellini in fact ran towards the referee, pulling down his shirt to show what still photographers indicate as bite marks. Now, FIFA will wait for the match report before deciding to take any retrospective action, and according to its rules, Suarez faces the possibility of a lengthy 24-match ban. This is in fact the third time Suarez has sunk in his teeth into an opponent, and it would certainly could end his World Cup right away. Right now, in fact, the man who faced the sting of Suarez's teeth, Giorgio Chiellini, he in fact has slammed Suarez's actions. Now, Chiellini said, and I quote, that now Suarez is a sneak who actually gets away with it because FIFA wants their stars to play in the World Cup. I would love to see if they have the courage to use video evidence against him. That is Chiellini, who is complaining literally against Suarez, saying the referee saw the bite mark too, but he did nothing about it. Not many would disagree with Chiellini. Now, in his reply, this is Suarez speaking to in a post-match interview, said, "These are just things that happen out on the pitch. It was just the two of us inside the area, and he bumped into me with his shoulder, and that's how my eye got like this as well. There are things that happen on the pitch, and you should not make such a big deal out of them." Guess what? Suarez is talking about his eye getting bumped, but on camera he was found catching his teeth in pain, what looked like to be in obvious pain. Now, the Vice President of FIFA, Jim Boyce, immediately commented, saying there is no doubt Luis Suarez is a fantastic footballer, but once again his actions have left him exposed, and he's also said that there is a need for FIFA to make sure that they should investigate the incident seriously and take proper action in this matter, whatever disciplinary action is deemed in this matter. Now, not only was that, the Twitter world was abuzz with the celebrities calling for stern action against Suarez. The first up, Michael Owen, former English footballer. "Tell me I'm seeing things. Surely Suarez didn't bite someone again. I'm genuinely gutted. I love watching him play more than any other player. But he obviously just cannot control himself." That's Michael Owen. Next up, Usain Bolt, he just tweeted, did Suarez really bite again? And this tweet from Bolt was retweeted more than a few thousand times. After Bolt comes Evander Holyfield. Remember Holyfield, who had a part of his ear bitten off by Mike Tyson. Holyfield said, I guess any part of the body is up for eating. A very sarcastic remark there from Holyfield. Rio Ferdinand, once a member of the England team not so long ago, this time he's not in the squad. He's saying, tell me Suarez didn't eat someone. Was the hero a couple of days ago? That's Rio Ferdinand for you on Twitter. And of course, Gary Lineker, who's a TV pundit now, one of the all-time great strikers of British football, says Suarez has bitten Chiellini, bite marks. In fact, Lineker also went on to post a picture which he tweeted with the bite marks. And also Robbie Savage saying, former Welsh international, what should happen to Suarez? Length of ban. This is the question mark which Robbie Savage left for FIFA, and that is the big question with which our guests will also be confronted. Novi Kapadia, Karim Benshari, good morning, welcome back once again. Novi, not the sort of incident which one would like to see on a football pitch, and this is not the first time. It is the third time Suarez has bitten an opponent. Your initial reactions?
No, Sanjeev, see, there is a method in his madness. I mean, it doesn't seem, yes, a lot of it can be seen in a psychoanalytical way, but let's analyze the times. The 79th minute, he makes this body charge into Giorgio Chiellini, who's been having an excellent game. They barely had a look in at the Italian goal. And 2 minutes later, even an experienced defender like Chiellini is rattled. Of course, they whipped in an excellent cross in the corner. But where was the Italian defense? Though there is some method in his madness. You know,
right.
He's mentally unstabilizing the opposition.
Right.
So there's a very fine line, a shadow line between what is ethical and unethical. Yes, try to win at all costs.
Right.
This is not a moral science class. But there has to be a certain ethical standards.
Right.
You're being watched all over the world, and
right.
It is time that FIFA takes strict action. Most disappointing for me was the referee and the match officials, where there was obvious indication. I mean,
right.
What was the assistant referee doing?
Right.
Did he have his eyes closed at that time?
Why is Suarez lying then, Karim? I can agree with what Novi said, but Suarez in his post-match interview says, let me finish, Karim, that these sort of incidents happen, and that is why it happened to my eye as well, but he was clutching onto his teeth.
A guy who is biting, what do you expect? What do you expect, to say the truth? Yeah. No, it's very disappointing because the guy is a genius with his feet, but he's a villain with his teeth. So
he's a complete footballer. He plays with every part.
Yeah, it's sad because he let himself down, he let his team down. In case there is an action against him, it will affect also Uruguay. That's why the whole team and the coach are trying to defend him. I think it's down to the education as well. You know, where he grow, what kind of environment. Because they're a big family. He's in the middle of seven siblings, and at 7 years, his father have to move from the village to the city for the first time. They had to struggle to have a daily living.
But there are many more footballers who've had worse struggles than Suarez. They never bite.
But it's also, I think the way you grow also it's affect his. But it's also a psychological problem because this is we're not talking about the first time. This is the third time that it happened, plus other controversies as well.
Why does FIFA take so much time? We very quickly. It is on camera. Why does FIFA take so much of time? It just tweets saying that yes, we will go through the match report, and then they are referred to our disciplinary code.
No, FIFA has sort of, taken refuge behind a sort of legal recourse that they will go through the match report. They don't. It's a tournament being held in South America. Suarez himself is a big hero in those parts of the world. I mean, the reports coming from Uruguay saying that his stardom will not be affected in Uruguay, especially he's become a hero after defeating former great colonial ruler England. So those are all, I think, political considerations also being taken into account. But FIFA, for their own image, will have to stamp down on that. This is like drugs. I mean, if this grows, I mean, football gets out of hand. As people have tweeted, you are not watching WWF, you are watching football.
That's right. And in fact, these 24-game ban, if it does happen, actually applies to club games also. That might force Liverpool to think of the contract with Suarez. Now, back to the game. Uruguay winning the battle of the former champions late last night in Natal to send the four-time winners Italy crashing out of the World Cup. Now the Azzurri kept La Celeste at bay for large periods of what was a scrappy encounter. Striker Balotelli was lucky to stay on after a high jump that almost took off Christian Rodriguez's head. The match only getting uglier by the minute. Claudio Marchisio was sent off for a reckless challenge before Luis Suarez's predatory skills, as we just spoke about, of the infamous kind, came to the fore again. A frustrated Suarez quite literally digging into Giorgio Chiellini. But the referee didn't take any action. A draw was all the Italians needed, and it loomed large until Captain Diego Gordon rose majestically to head home a corner past Gigi Buffon with less than 10 minutes to play. 1-0, it stayed Uruguay through, and Italy knocked out in the first round for the second straight World Cup. Novi, let's listen into some fans now.
Beautiful. This is just beautiful. There is no stopping until the final game. With Suarez, we never lose. With Gordon, neither.
That is football for you. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. It only got interesting when Uruguay had the man advantage. But it wasn't good football.
The result is fair. Nothing else can be said. It's a good 1-0. Italy played well, but Uruguay played better. It's good like that.
Coming back to the game, Novi, surely Uruguay didn't play better. They played well in patches, but those patches were few and far in between. If we forget the Suarez incident for a while, if we also forget the fact that he might be banned for the rest of the World Cup, Uruguay will seriously have to pick up the game and not play the way they played against Italy last night.
Against Italy, it was a gritty performance. They were sort of, using that great spirit they have, never say die spirit. But also the factor is that, the Suarez biting incidents helps Italy to mask their own deficiencies. I mean, those will be forgotten now. I mean, the lack of creativity
right
up front, and Italy has a major problem. They just don't seem to have enough strikers. I mean, all that may get buried because of this avalanche created by the Suarez biting incident. But it is unfortunate. Italy also didn't create enough to score goals. It's the second successive match. So unless Balotelli clicks, and he's such a blow-hot, blow-cold character,
right,
Italy have serious deficiencies up front. And with Pirlo and Buffon aging, second successive World Cup, not out of the first round, are they really a superpower in football anymore?
Right. Karim, I wish I could ask you about Suarez, his teeth, his biting skills, etc., and the marks he left on Chiellini's shoulder. Unfortunately, no. We're not going to talk about all those problems he has. Rather, we'll talk about the game. Italy played well. They sort of dominated the match for more than 80% of the time. Had a fantastic pattern going for them. The formations were right, yet they failed to score. Why so?
Well, the Uruguay, we know, as we discussed, 4-4-2, Italy 3-5-2 formation. Everything, I think, was right, because Italy was definitely in a very much control of the game, with Pirlo operating here, with obliging Uruguay to defend, and they had a good control of the game. Immobile was his first game, Balotelli. So of course, I think on the midfield there was no problem around the midfield. The Italy, they took control of the game, but they couldn't penetrate. And for me, the reason is, number one, Immobile was his first game, so I expect much more from him around Balotelli. And Balotelli is, for me, he was a waste in this World Cup, and he let his teammates and his coach down.
Right.
So when you have strikers who they didn't hold the ball, they didn't provoke on one-on-one situation on this attacking third, then of course the pressure will come on you, because you know that Uruguay is looking to win and will come and attack and may get a chance out of the blue.
Opportunities, and that's what they did. Novi, if I could ask you this, yes, Suarez did appear to be biting Chiellini, but otherwise Uruguay Uruguay forward line looked without any bite. What is the reason? Was it because Cavani was placed deeper to mark Pirlo, and is that the reason that it took the sting out of the Uruguay attack?
Yes, probably. That is one of the reasons. Edison Cavani had a very good game. He's the real box-to-box striker instead of midfielder, and he was there marking Pirlo so much. Suarez, to his credit, did take some wonderful strikes at goal. There was an instance where, he slid in and towed the ball goalwards where Buffon made a brilliant save, one of the best pieces of football in that match.
Right.
So he was dangerous. They created other chances, but it wasn't a open game of end-to-end attacking. It was a tactical battle of attrition. It
Right.
was a scrap, like many football matches at this stage are. But it got ruined, of course. Infamous it is, like the Battle of Santiago, again when Italy was involved with Chile in '62.
Right.
This will be a match which will be one of the infamous matches in World Cup history.
And sad to see also, Karim, that Cesar Prandelli, he literally did everything right, from the tactics to the formations to getting his players right. Yes, he possibly could not get the right performances to win this match. Of course, a little bit of bad luck there. But the moment the match ended, he told the media, and he's also offered to step down from his job, and he's informed the Italian Football Federation. One has to feel bad about Prandelli.
Yeah, I really feel bad for him. Gentleman, I think he did a great job, keeping the team at this level. And back in 2010, Italy was not, when he took over, Italy progressed and performed much better.
Right.
And, he's taken responsibility. Which is good to see.
Right.
But the fact is, and he took responsibility on everything that went wrong. He even said that it was his mistake to pick Balotelli. And it looks like inside the camp of Italy, not everything was right, because even De Rossi came out on the media and criticizing Balotelli, that saying that they need men, they don't need players who put stickers in those Panini stickers. He puts all his pictures in all the team. It's like there is nobody in Italy, only in Italy's squad, only Balotelli.
Right.
So definitely they had a problem player, like Uruguay have their headaches with Suarez. Italy had their headaches with Balotelli. And I do respect what he did, and I do feel bad for him, but it is expected. Sometimes when you fail, the coach take responsibility.
Right, but it does also take guts for a coach to immediately take all the responsibility on himself and apologize to his countrymen, and also offer to step down. Now, moving on, England also ending their wretched World Cup campaign without a win, as they played out a goalless draw against Costa Rica in their last Group D game in Belo Horizonte. Yes, they failed to score again. The Three Lions, already knocked out after losing their opening 2 games against Italy and Uruguay, made 9 changes to their side. Coach Roy Hodgson testing his bench out, but not much change for them on the pitch, as they failed to create any openings in what was a pretty drab affair. The Costa Ricans, reveling in the joy of having already made it into the round of 16, were content with sitting deep. Los Ticos knew they needed just the solitary point to be assured of the top spot in the group, and they achieved their objective without too much trouble. 0-0 it ended, and Costa Rica, who would have ever imagined finishing as the winners of the group of death. That's right, Karim mentioned at the start of this tournament, when we did all these preview shows, yes, we've talked about the favourites and the dark horses. Costa Rica, never even in anybody's wildest imagination, but a fantastic and very creditable performance, one has to admit, at this point of time.
Of course, who thought that Costa Rica, because of the history, because of the past records, nobody thought about Costa Rica to be at this level and even top in the group, not only qualifying to the next round. They was very smart. They had a great team spirit. They was very fit, well organized. They produce that 3-5-2, which helped them to stay very solid defensively, and they had some exciting players and some exciting talents, and in the attacking side, especially in the final third, who score goals for them, because if you don't score goals, you cannot win games. So they manage with whatever they have to produce some excellent results, and top in the group is a big statement, especially this is the group of death with England, Uruguay and Italy.
Right, England, Italy already out. On the other hand, Novi, disappointing day, hugely disappointing day for England. In fact, a lot of these websites and newspapers are already saying that not only football, also cricket, because they lost a test match to Sri Lanka. But what would be the learning curve for the English footballers? Because Roy Hodgson, one is not really convinced by his approach in the way he selected his team initially, and then the way he put out 9 players. Yes, people are saying, pundits are saying, on one hand it's a very brave decision, others are saying, what's the point? It's after everything was lost.
Well, looking in the history of the World Cup, only in 1954, Sepp Herberger made 8 changes. That first West German team, when he put out a reserve team against Hungary deliberately and then change it from his first 11. He's made 9 changes, probably to scoff the critics who said he was very conservative. But ultimately, he's learnt nothing. I think Costa Rica was spurred by those 7 players going for a dope, sort of belief that they were involved in doping. And Costa Rica was spurred that even though they had topped the group, they wanted to end on a high. England have sadly not got anything out of this World Cup. They've not found another striker. Well, the young players have played. Are they really the answer to the future? A lot of introspection is needed. Maybe Harry Redknapp is right. They don't have that much intensity when playing for the country. The club comes first.
Clubs comes first. And one is surprised also the clutch of former English footballers who are there in Brazil as television commentators and experts, what they might be wondering. Let's take a final look at the Group D, or rather Group of Death standings. Look at that. It's a group which had 3 former world champions. 2 of them knocked out. England with a single point. Italy, yes, of course, they will feel hard done by only 3 points, and they're losing this game to Uruguay. Uruguay is somehow managing to sneak past Italy to make it to the knockout stage. But look at that, Costa Rica, with a population which is less than the combined population of Noida, Greater Noida and Delhi. As I must reiterate yet again, they were the surprise package. 7 points on top of the Group of Death, and now they will go away right into the round of 16 to live their dream of a World Cup pre-quarterfinal game. Well, that's coming up right after the break. When we come back, we'll talk about the other 2 winners of last night, the superb Colombians, and of course the Greeks, who even defied their own defensive skills of not being able to score a goal. Well, this time they changed the script. Back to the beautiful game now. Colombia thrashed Japan 4-1 to top Group C to set up a potentially exciting pre-quarter-final match against Uruguay. Having already qualified for the next round, the Colombians made sure they kept their winning streak with an imperious display against the lackluster Japanese. Cuadrado bought the lead from a penalty that was cancelled out when Shinji Okazaki in fact headed in just before halftime. But the Porto striker Jackson Martinez struck twice, and James Rodriguez then scored his 3rd goal of this tournament to complete the rout as the South Americans raced away to their 3rd win in 11 days. What a performance there from the Colombians. Right, let's take you through the numbers, how this game was exactly played. And yet again, same stories repeated. 44% of ball possession. That's all they enjoyed compared to 56% for Japan. 13 shots, 9 on target, which means far greater potency. Now, what does this tell you? Japan had 23 shots on goal, 13 only on target, yet all they get to do is score once. You simply cannot compete at this level if you are playing with a team which cannot score at this international level. Fantastic performance there from Colombia, disappointment from Japan, but obviously, Novi, Colombia will take some stopping. The way this team has actually picked itself up right from the word go, the coach literally benched most of the team. It was a reserves team which played, and yet they came out and humiliated Japan 4-1.
Yes, a lesson for England. Here the reserves really clicked. And no, the important thing here is that it's a different Colombia from the Carlos Valderrama Colombia. You know, the slow-paced build-up is gone. They are a much more exciting team going forward. And, you know, both Martinez and Rodriguez, especially Rodriguez is one of the young stars of the tournament. Important other thing is that a sad day for Italian coaches, not just Prandelli. Zaccaroni's reign as Japan's coach has also ended in disaster.
No love in Tokyo for Zaccaroni
No
after
love
this.
in Tokyo. He had a whole contingent of assistant coaches from Italy. So Italian coaches have also taken a bit of a beating in this World Cup.
Karim, you looked pretty disappointed earlier this morning. I'm sure you've been taken aback by what Suarez did. But also, yes, Japan was a side which didn't start really well. Not a great tournament so far for Asian teams. But the way they capitulated, not something which is expected at this level. 23 shots on goal, yet you score only once.
Well, nothing new, Sanjeev, about Japan problem. It is very clear. You could see yesterday, I watched the game, they control the game, they dominate the game. Of course, the Colombia was strong on the counter, especially with the two striker, Jackson and James. And they did make a difference. But overall, on the game, on the possession, on the midfield, on the creativity, everything went right. Because they had Okazaki, Honda, Kagawa, did a solid performance. The problem, they don't have a striker to finish. They don't have that top player because they play that 4-2-3-1. That one striker, for the quality of Suarez, not for his biting skills, but playing skills, that's what they need, Japan. And they are it's very known on their mentality. They're very shy to shoot at goal because they don't want to miss chances. And that is the main problem for me. It's on that final third.
On the final third. So I'm sure they'll also be looking for strikers. I hope Suarez doesn't get into any bigger trouble because the Japs might come looking for them. Meanwhile, a Greek tragedy befell Didier Drogba and the generation of Ivory Coast players as the Elephants were knocked out of the World Cup by a resurgent Greek side that made it to the round of 16 for the first time in its history. Now, the Africans fell behind in the 42nd minute as Andre Samaris scored from a Samaras assist for the team's first goal in this tournament. Would you believe it? First goal in 3 games. But Ivory Coast coming back to level in the 72nd minute as Kalu headed in beautifully for Gervinho to deliver it for the substitute Wilfred Bony to score. It looked like game over for the Greeks, but a last-minute penalty proved just too costly for the Africans as Samaras smashed it in to take his team through to now face Costa Rica in the round of 16. Yes, we will show you the numbers. Greece versus Ivory Coast. 46% of the ball. Greece did not have much of the ball. It looked like Ivory Coast was running them around them in circles, and the fact that Ivory Coast also created more chances. But the fact is that even though they had many more shots on target, they simply failed to step it up. One would say the Greeks were lucky. Some are saying it was an unfair penalty. But it is the winner who has the last laugh, and that is what it seems like. Very unfortunate, Karim, if I could start with you, not with the Greeks, but very unfortunate for Ivory Coast to actually depart from the World Cup like this. They were so close. When the match started, everybody knew that Ivory Coast, even if they play out a draw, they're going to get into the next round. And 90 minutes later, it's all over.
Sanjeev, watch this front line. Drogba, Yaya Toure, Kalu, Gervinho. We know them very well. These are making their teams, whether Chelsea, Manchester City, even at Gervinho when he was at Arsenal. These are great players, and it's very surprising to see a team with such quality going out against, in my opinion, quite an average Greece team. So they should not, Ivory Coast should not blame the penalty. I think it was a penalty. Yeah. They should have finished the game earlier because they had the possession. They needed to be more creative. They needed to be more sharp in front of goal because they should have finished the game and they had the advantage of the quality, definitely.
Right. On the other hand, Novi Greeks will be absolutely delighted, and though not many even amongst Greek football fans had much faith in the coach's defensive strategies. If they finally scored twice in the last game to qualify, I'm sure they will now be rejoicing, and people might just start believing their coach, maybe the Greek bus, as a lot of people are saying, who is actually their key to success.
Well, they did a Trojan horse on Ivory Coast. Then Samaras and Samaris, tongue twisters for commentators, both combined to get these goals. Right. Samaras, an established star, Samaris, young 24-year-old on the rise. But, you know, for me, Ivory Coast is the Spain of the 1990s. Great players, but underachieving.
Right.
Karim has mentioned all these great players. And African, it's not just the World Cup. They had excuses in the last 2 World Cups. They were in groups of death with Argentina, Brazil, Portugal. But in the African Nations Cup also, always just not delivering. Again, I mean, it's whether it's again the club dominates the country, or they don't combine for the country, or do they need a better coach? Right. Lots of problems for Ivory Coast.
Karim, very quickly, you wanted to assist Novi on this one.
Ivory Coast is the amateurism on the field and off the field. If you see the goal that they concede, we discuss it even for Cameroon. Right. Cameroon concede 3 goals, losing the ball in a very dangerous area just around the box. Right. Yesterday, also Ivory Coast, a very casual pass from a sort of professional player is not acceptable.
Not acceptable. Of course, they had to pay the price for that. Now, let's quickly take you through the group standings in Group C. There we go. Colombia keeping a clean slate, maxing the entire 3 matches, getting 9 points on board, scoring 9 goals also. Greece, some would say the lucky winners in this case, as they sneak in ahead of Ivory Coast, who would be absolutely gutted as to the way this campaign turned around for them. And in the end, Japan obviously will be very, very disappointed with the way this campaign in which they failed miserably. Let's take you through the round of 16 fixtures. This is 29th of June, Colombia versus Uruguay. Clash of South American style. This is going to be a very, very interesting match. And even if Suarez does get to play, even if he does get to stay in the tournament, the form Colombia are in, Uruguay, beware of the Colombians. They will be coming for them. And the next game on the 30th of June will be Costa Rica versus Greece. Now, I'm not sure how many will be predicting a winner here, but the Costa Ricans obviously will be overjoyed having got through one of the toughest groups in the competition. They will be taking on what many say as the army of Greek buses, which will try and prevent them from going ahead. On that note, it's time for a break. When we come back, is Argentina over-reliant on the magic of Messi? That's what we will come. Now, Argentina will have their sights set on topping their group as they take on the African champions Nigeria in their final Group F game at Porto Alegre later tonight. Having already made it to the round of 16 stage, the Albiceleste will be looking to settle the quest for the top spot as they take on the Super Eagles, needing only a draw to do so. Though the two-time world champions are sitting pretty, having already progressed to the next round, their form hasn't been convincing, even for their staunchest supporters. And it's been the genius of Messi that has twice done the trick for Alejandro Sabella's men. Nigeria, on the other hand, with 4 points, need just a draw to qualify, but a loss could spell trouble for them. Novi, we've seen the magic of Messi twice, but you know, in small little bursts, but that has been enough to carry Argentina over the line. Right now they're facing a very tough team. In fact, if one could say, if we forget the opening encounter against Iran in Nigeria, how do you see this battle building up? Will Sabella be actually playing 4-3-3, or will he be going with yet again back to a 5-3-2 formation?
You again for Nigeria, whether they can solve the problems on and off the field and how they approach this match. It would be dangerous if they go for a draw. They are a fine attacking team. Victor Moses, John Obi Mikel, lots of very good, exciting players. And, you know, there's that worry that Iran could do a grease on them by sneaking through with a victory against Bosnia. So Nigeria can salvage Africa's pride and really test Argentina, especially their attack. So it could turn out to be a thrilling match. And Nigeria have the opportunity to at last fulfill their potential and progress to round of 16.
Yes, but Karim, had you been in Sabella's place, you would have been a worried man, because other than Messi's genius, the forward line hasn't delivered, the midfield is not really in shape. There's a lot of things which you need to tinker and get in place, get your act together.
We discussed, Sanjeev, this Argentina side, and we did already analyze them and mention the weaknesses is a little bit their defensive line.
Right.
And we mentioned their strength is those three strikers, Messi, Aguero and Higuain.
Yeah.
But 2 games on this World Cup, it seems the weaknesses are all over the compartment of the field. The midfield is not creating enough.
Yeah.
Di Maria is not the Di Maria that we know in Real Madrid. The front line is absolutely static and not creating at all. So for me, till now, Argentina didn't look as a team that should be one of the contenders for this World Cup, except the brilliance of Messi. And even Messi, it's not a 90 minutes brilliance, it's a patches of brilliance, which they was lucky in that in one of these patches they got the goals at the right moment.
Right, 2 moments of brilliance, fetching him 2 of those 3 goals scored by Argentina so far. Let's wait for tonight and see how exactly the Argentinians fare against the Nigerians, who will also be gunning for a spot in the round of 16. Now, the other game, French football's renaissance, continues tonight as the Les Bleus seek to extend their winning form when they take on Ecuador in their final Group E game at the Maracana in Rio. Now, having already made it to the knockout stages after overpowering Honduras and then destroying the Swiss, Didier Deschamps' men will be eager to keep their clean slate, even as the manager might be tempted to make a few changes to the team. Karim Benzema, who has led from the front with 3 strikes in this tournament, could be rested, allowing Deschamps the liberty to either play the Queen's Park Rangers striker Loic Remy or play just Giroud as the lone striker with Griezmann and Valbuena backing him up. Ecuador, though, must win and also hope the Swiss do not beat Honduras by a big margin if they are to qualify further in this tournament. Remember, Karim and Novi will be back in the evening when they will actually discuss and strategize France and, of course, Argentina's tactics. But remember, it's time now for us, on this show at least, to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk to you about how you have made the conversation here on CNN IBN through social media. So stay right there. Welcome back to the beautiful game. Yes, remember there are 2 more matches later tonight at 1:30 a.m. India time. Honduras versus Switzerland. Will the Swiss cheese crumble against the physical body contact game of Honduras? And also simultaneously we have France taking on Ecuador, while 9:30 the other game, Iran versus Bosnia. These are the games which we can look forward to later tonight. It's time now to take you through the conversation here with people are having here with us on CNN IBN on the beautiful game. The first tweet coming from Deepak Narvani says, "It's the love bite from Suarez to all the Italians." Wow, wonderful, Deepak. Next up is Shanthan Paul says, "Dear Suarez, Italian food tastes good, not Italians." I hope FIFA is listening to you, Shanthan. Rudranil Ghosh says, "Should Suarez be handed out a life ban?" This isn't the first time. In fact, it is the 3rd time he's done this. First for Ajax in 2010 and second time against Chelsea while playing for Liverpool 2013. Alive is Awesome says, "Suarez has bitten more people than Wayne Rooney has World Cup goals." A fantastic one for you, Novi, to react on this. But before that, the tweet of the day, this one is coming from Lady Ishita, says, "Uruguay advancing past rounds in the World Cup from dirty Suarez tactics since 2010. I'm impressed by the way you have actually shown your support for Italy through that tweet. You remember, all you folks can join in the conversation here with CNN IBN. Send in your thoughts, tweets and questions to Karim and Novi at IBN Live with the hashtag World Cup. But before that, Novi, your reactions to the Twitter feeds which we are getting here on the beautiful game.
No, very perceptive, and it is in a way sad that a great striker is going to be remembered for a type of hand of God which knocked out Ghana in the 2010 World Cup,
right,
and for this sort of savage biting incident.
But Italian food, Italian biting, love bites, you know, this is the sort of reaction, Karim, we are getting.
What happened yesterday, it's amazing how it was gone viral on all social media and Twitters, right, with some interesting pictures, and it's just amazing the creativity of people when it comes to these kind of incident.
In fact, it sort of scares me. I was wondering whether you guys had your breakfast, because it would be better to maintain a safe distance. Novi, Twitter feed, of course you're still ahead of Karim on this count, because Karim is not tweeting as regularly, but people are paying attention to even the smallest of things. The interesting tweet out there, dirty tricks from Suarez since 2010, taking Uruguay into the next rounds. How do you react to this?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That over there also he blocked Ghana. Over here he's upset the Italian apple cart, not with the football skills, for
right,
which he's also world famous. That is going to be the pity. But it's also, yes, social media, how much people are now aware. And the way they are playing with words, that is what is. They're very perceptive. I wish they get as perceptive about Indian football, right, as they are about World Cup football.
Karim, you were just, your teeth is gleaming. Why are you showing your teeth? Are you going to bite Novi or what?
Now I'm just thinking of the Tavares, the coach, because as you know, football players, their last meal before the match, right, should be at least 4 hours, yeah, before the match, so they, right, can digest and go, right, to the game in a more comfortable situation. But I think Tavares should maybe oblige Suarez to eat just before the game, right, and even eat at halftime as well. So he's not angry during the game.
That's exactly what you tweeted right after the game. And this is also a request to both you, Novi and Karim, that you must have your breakfast or your evening snacks or your dinner before you come for the shows here, because it's nice to have you fully fed and not show your teeth at me. It's a little scary after what Suarez did. Well, keep those tweets coming for Novi and Kareem. Thank you very much, gentlemen, once again for joining us early in this morning on the Beautiful Game. As we leave, we say goodbye with yet another look at what could have been a fantastic advertisement for any toothpaste brand, but unfortunately, look at what he's done. Luis Suarez, enfant terrible of Uruguayan football. Goodbye. Take it away.